it was easily the best of all three. No question, have a lot of feelings and thoughts about Britney Spears. I just think it's an absolute mess. Not good. Anyway. Hey friends and fellow book nerds, if you are new here, my name is Becca. Thank you so much for being here. Today is officially the summer solstice. It's the first day of summer, so I thought what better time to do a little mid-year check-in and do the mid-year book freakout tag, which is the most dramatic tag name on this website, I'm pretty sure, but I love it. It's giving me very early Facebook, MySpace, Tumblr vibes. So I'm all for that. So we're gonna talk about just my reading stats so far for the year and then get into the tag questions, talk about some of my favorites, disappointments, all that good stuff. So this year so far, I'm at 27 books and I'm very happy with that. My goal is 50 and I don't think I've met my goal the last 2 years. I've been quite ambitious with my goal because I think the first year I started getting back into reading, I set like a goal of 1 book a month, like 12, and I read a few more than that. And then the last 2 years I haven't quite hit 50, but right now we're at 27. I'm feeling really good about it. And I think a big part of that is this channel and creating content and being very motivated and inspired to continue to read and pick up books. I'm also very close to 500 subscribers. So thank you all so much. It's really been amazing. I'm having a great time creating content and reading books here. So as far as reading stats go, like I said, I'm at 27 books. I think 4 of those have been 5 stars. As far as genres go, the breakdown, we're looking at 12 fantasy / romantasy. I'm putting those in the same category. 6 romances, which is probably gonna stay around there for the rest of the year. 3 thrillers, 3 kind of more mythology type fantasies, 2 dystopian / sci-fis, and 1 memoir / nonfiction, which was Britney Spears' memoir. So let's just jump into the first tag question. This is pretty simple. What is the best read of 2024 so far? I'm going to cheat on this one a little bit. I can't pick one. I never can. I struggle with these types of questions, so I don't know why I keep creating these kinds of tags. I digress. The Elements of Cadence duology by Rebecca Ross has probably been my favorite reading experience so far this year. There are a few close seconds and thirds, honorable mentions, but just overall, I feel like these were both 5 stars. I enjoyed the first and second equally. Thought they were beautifully written, really rich characters. This is a fantasy romance duology that is very like Scottish Celtic inspired. So I really loved the world and the setting of this one. I really just enjoyed the overall vibe, the writing style, the atmosphere, everything about these was just really cozy, really romantic, just overall really good. So my other favorite of 2024 so far is actually one that I just finished yesterday, and that is Clytemnestra. I loved this so much. This was Costanza Casati's first debut novel, and it does not read like a first novel. It was just so well done. This is someone who knows their shit, and it shows. It's such an interesting story, really cool take on a character who is known for being in a lot of Greek retellings as a murderess, vengeful, stubborn, power hungry, all of those things. She is in some ways, but you're also seeing the side to her that is loyal, compassionate, fierce, strong, just so much packed into the story. This is like almost a 500-page book, and I flew through this in like 4 or 5 days, which is very unlike me. I was just hooked from the beginning. So this is a story of Clytemnestra, who is a princess of Sparta and eventually, through a lot of trauma, brutal events, eventually becomes a queen. And she goes through a lot of shit to get there. I just think where this really stood out is getting to know this character through all the different relationships that she has. Just a really cool way of going about it. If you are interested in Greek mythology, you get a lot of that name dropping. You're going through a lot, you are visiting a lot of different Greek locations. So the relationships between her siblings, her parents, her husbands, her lovers, everyone around her, you're just getting a lot of insight into who she is. It also really highlights the differences of what it means to be a man and a woman, where if you are a king who is brutal and vengeful and ambitious, that's seen as a positive, where, as you can imagine, as a woman, those traits are not seen that way. I just think this was incredible. I would recommend this to anyone. Really good summer Greek mythology read if you're interested in that. The next question of the tag is the best sequel. And this, I did read a few sequels this year, and this is easy without a doubt. It's The Ballad of Never After, the sequel to Once Upon a Broken Heart by Stephanie Garber. Ballad of Never After is the best book in the whole series. It's better than all the Caraval books. It's the best in the Once Upon a Broken Heart series. And I think that's a pretty universal opinion of fans of this universe. It seems like most people agree that The Ballad of Never After is the best one. It's just everything you want in a whimsical fairy tale romantasy. It just has it all. It has the yearning, it has the enemies to lovers, it has the tension, it has the slow build. Not only that, but I just also think as a sequel, it fits in well in the series. I can't say that about a lot of books. I feel like sequels can often fall flat because they're just not as good as the first, where it's like all fresh and new, and then they're not as good as the finale where you're getting kind of that satisfaction of the end. I feel like with this one, it was easily the best of all three, and it just gave you kind of what you want from a sequel, in my opinion. Well plotted as a sequel. I won't say that the entire series, to be honest, is necessarily really well done plot-wise, but as a sequel, I think Ballad of Never After really does hit. New release I haven't read yet. That one for me is Leigh Bardugo's The Familiar. I've mentioned this in a few anticipated new release videos. I just really enjoy Leigh Bardugo, and I'm kind of just in this type of historical fantasy mood right now. Greek mythology. I really want to because House of the Dragon has come out recently, I really want to get to Game of Thrones. I'm just in that kind of like medieval, this is 16th century, but just those kind of historical fiction fantasy worlds I'm really feeling right now. So I have high hopes for this one. Definitely want to get to this one before the year is up. Other anticipated new releases for the second half of 2024. Going back to Stephanie Garber, Spectacular, in the Once Upon a Broken Heart Caraval kind of universe. That's supposed to be like a holiday. My understanding is that it's like a Court of Frost and Starlight in ACOTAR type of novella situation. I love Court of Frost and Starlight. I will defend that book forever, but I'm excited for that one for sure. And then definitely my most anticipated is The Songbird in the Heart of Stone by Carissa Broadbent. Definitely my most anticipated read. The Serpent and Wings of Night trilogy, specifically the Six Scorched Roses novella, have been some of my favorite reads recently in the fantasy, young adult, romantasy genre. Feels well-rounded, so I'm really excited to get to that one. I think it comes out in November of this year. Biggest disappointment so far. Some of y'all are not gonna like this, but it's House of Flame and Shadow. No question, no doubt about it. Even after like writing the script and thinking about this for this video, I actually bumped it down from a 3 to a 2 star when I was reminiscing about it and just comparing it to a lot of the other things I've read so far this year. I just think it's an absolute mess. It makes no sense. A lot of the characters in this are just such filler. They provided nothing for the story, and the characters that do have a lot of page time, if you will, in this, I just don't like. I don't like Bryce and Hunt. I really don't enjoy them. I don't like Bryce's like badass hot girl archetype, cheesy type of character with the hot pink sneakers. And y'all know, if you've read it, you know what other types of kind of things I'm referring to, that it's just not for me. It's not my favorite. And I just thought that 800 pages of this book was a total waste of my time. Not good. I'm also not a huge Nesta fan, so the Nesta ACOTAR crossover of this was also a huge disappointment for me. The biggest surprise of 2024. This one is actually gonna go to Emily Henry's Book Lovers. I don't know what it was about this, but I just really enjoyed it. I have only read one other Emily Henry before, and that is Beach Read. I keep getting Beach Read and People We Meet on Vacation confused and think that I read the latter. I actually read Beach Read. I gave that 2 stars. I found it so boring. I could not tell you one singular thing about that book or the characters. So I don't really know why I bought this. I just bought it on a whim in a weak moment. But I ended up really liking it. Something about the characters in this just worked for me. It wasn't too cheesy. It didn't have too many cheesy pop culture references, which is the thing that I really don't like in contemporary romance. I just found the main character, I think her name is Nora. Yes, Nora. The whole thing of her and the love interest being in publishing, being in books, loving to read books, things like that, I just found really resonated with me for obvious reasons. She was also kind of that hard exterior, older sister, bitch type of character. Again, I relate to that. I really enjoyed their banter. I just found it to be overall a fun time. I read this really quickly. I wasn't bored. I wasn't rolling my eyes too much. And I gave this 4 stars. So this was definitely the biggest surprise for me. Although I'm not necessarily going to be running out to go read more Emily Henry, I did enjoy that one. I really don't have a lot of favorite authors, to be honest with you. I like a lot of things equally. If you can't tell by now, I have a hard time committing to like absolutes like that. But after reading The Elements of Cadence Duology by Rebecca Ross, who also wrote Divine Rivals, I can say that that's probably one of my new top authors. I really enjoy her writing style. Then also honorable mention to Stephanie Garber. I wouldn't say it's a favorite author by any means, but I obviously liked her books enough this year that I read 6 of her books already in the first half of 2024. So I know that I really like that writing style as well. I wouldn't say that either of them are my favorite authors in an overall sense, but for the sake of this tag in the beginning of this year, I would say those are the 2 that kind of stand out. Oh, and Stephanie Garber also gave me my newest book boyfriend, which leads me into the next question, which is your newest fictional crush. And it's Jax. It's Jax. There's no competition. I absolutely loved his character. I always love a mean, broody, morally gray male character. Jax is everything in that. He's actually not my typical like type of man, to be honest. Like the blonde and like blue hair and things like that is not really my type, but it's the attitude. It's the charisma. It's all of that. I just really enjoy his personalities. And my new favorite character overall, I have to say, can I say Clytemnestra? From Greek mythology? I think I can. I think I'm gonna go with Clytemnestra. I also really have enjoyed Cruisin, the main character in the God Killer fantasy series. Cruisin is really badass. She feels a little bit older than the typical YA fantasy characters that I read. I do love again, hard exterior, kind of sarcastic person who is secretly very soft and compassionate on the inside. And I think that kind of applies for Clytemnestra as well. Again, I just think that this like character story overall was just really impactful to me, really loved it. So I'm gonna go with Clytemnestra again. Next question is books that made me cry. And this is gonna be a kind of disappointing one because I cannot name one book this year so far that has made me actually cry. I've missed it up a few times, like a little maybe tear here and there, reading Fire Endless, reading Britney Spears' memoir, just because that is something that's very nostalgic and personal to me. I really have a lot of feelings and thoughts about Britney Spears. Ballad of Never After got me like a little bit, but I haven't like sobbed, haven't really truly cried in any books that I've read this year. I can only name probably 3 to 4 books like overall that have really gotten me to like cry. I don't really like cry a lot when reading books. It really takes a lot for me. So none. Most beautiful book that I have read or bought. I'm gonna go with bought on this one because I've read a lot of beautiful books and I've mentioned many of them already. These are definitely my favorites that I have picked up this year. God Killer and Sunbringer by Hannah Kaner, especially this one. I'm all about the water lore, mermaid mythology, trident, pirate, sea type of vibe going on with this one. I think this is probably my favorite. Really also enjoy the God Killer cover. And then also, which I have showed and mentioned before, but this copy of Babel, I really just love a good black and white architecture. So I would say Babel is up there as well. Books that I need to read by the end of the year. I have a few on this list. For fantasy, I've been talking about reading Mistborn forever now. I really would like to start this. Either this or Game of Thrones, like I mentioned, because House of the Dragon, it's just getting me back in that mindset. I really do love this type of epic fantasy set in those like time periods. So this one is just one that I really want to get to. I also need to read a pirate fantasy. I recently rewatched Pirates of the Caribbean, which is one of my favorite movies of all time. And it just, again, got me feeling like, why haven't I read more pirate fantasy? It's one of my favorite like sub-genres and tropes. So I think it's probably going to end up being Daughter of the Siren Queen, because I read the first one of that series, Daughter of the Pirate King, back in 2021 now. So I want to get to the sequel before too much more time has passed. Towards the latter half of the year, for more like fall, cozy, October-y reads, I really want to read Rebecca, because that's my name, and it's been on my shelf for a few years now, and it just seems like something I'll really like, and I hear nothing but good things about it every fall that it comes up. So I really want to get to that one. I really want to get to Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia of Fairies. Oh my god, there's a tiny little spider right next to the... I'm just gonna let him do his thing. Fun fact about me, I'm really not afraid of spiders. I don't want him to get on my camera though. I don't love them by any means. If they're huge, that's a little bit different, but just a little guy. He's all right. Anyway, for fall reads, Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia of Fairies, I'm also very excited to get to. I, again, hear nothing but good things about that one. Seems right up my alley. One, because it just sounds really good, but also two, that's one that my mom recently got me for my birthday, and I would love to read it so that when she asks me if I have read any of the books that she gets me, I can at least say, yes, I have read that one. And she said that she's also said that it seemed interesting to her, and I'd like to let her borrow it after I read it. That is it. That's all the tag questions. Thank you all so much for watching. Really appreciate it. Please subscribe if you enjoy the book content here on the channel. Give this video a like, do all the things. You can find all my social links down below, and I will see you in the next video.